What is going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another edition of On the Road to Victory. I'm your host, Jimmy Smith, and I hope you're all having a great start to your week. It is draft week, baby. So this time, it's felt like 10 years. The all season has been a wild ride already with the obvious free agency stuff going on. We've talked about, some trade stuff, but the draft is finally here. We're going to get some more answers on this roster. So excited about it, whether that be drafting, trading, all those things. But there's a lot going down, and I see a lot of stuff as of late, people now trying to talk about the salary cap and stuff, just getting people really misconstrued about what's going on this offseason. And, I thought we could take a little bit of a pre-draft outlook at the Philadelphia Eagles. So we're going to look at the cap space they have, the cap space they will have after the draft. And, of course, we'll look at the roster position by position, who they've got at each position, who they've lost at all those positions. And then we'll look at the positional strength ranking. So instead of, like draft needs, I don't like to say that because it's not necessarily that we need anyone, but I'll talk about where I feel we need some help and where, I feel that we're pretty strong at, so we'll talk about whether that be depth wise, starter wise, stuff like that. So we'll get into all of that, but I appreciate each and every one of you that is tuning in, whether you're watching this live right now or watching this later. I would love to hear your thoughts. How do you feel going into this draft? Who do you want on the Eagles roster? We're going to take a look at this roster, and you're going to be able to tell me who you feel would fit best for this team. So without further ado, I appreciate you again, but let's jump right into this, and let's start it off with what the Eagles got going on with cap space and, of course, their draft picks. And one of the things, we talk about is obviously the cap space all the time, but, is I want people to understand this stuff. I want people to be able to break this stuff down, but I also want people to stop misinforming others. So if you're having any trouble, please feel free to reach out and ask. You don't have to just take this stuff and try to run with it, because I don't want you tripping up. I want you to be able to explain this stuff into detail without getting twisted. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. But let's jump into this and let's look at the first and foremost, what kind of ammo we've got heading into this draft. So we know our, draft picks for this year, obviously. 2 first rounders at pick 10 and 30. You got pick 62 in the second, pick 94 in the third, and then 2 seventh rounders, one from Minnesota there at 219. And then, of course, 248. Now, the thing we talk about is do not think that Howie cannot acquire more picks or move up and have less picks. I mean, all these things are always possibilities. So you look at the 12 picks we have next year, and the ones with the stars on them are projected comp picks. But, I mean, that 5th rounder for Minnesota could be a 4th, but that Jalen Reagor would actually have to be good. So that's not going to happen. Then in 2025, you see we have 8 picks there. So you got that extra 7 from New Orleans last year. And I think, obviously, with 26 picks, the sky is the limit, ladies and gentlemen. So I think Howie, he will be up to his usual magic. So if there's somebody they really like that falls down to like 7, 8, and they feel they can make a leap to get them, maybe they do that. Maybe there's, just a lot of guys they like, have a first round grade on them, but, don't feel that they should take them at 10. Maybe they trade back. So we've talked about, I think that's one of my higher possibilities is, go back to 14, 18, go back to 20, do whatever the hell you want. But, I think you could acquire more picks, get some of those 4th, 5th, 6th round picks we talked about throughout this offseason. So we shall see. But Howie Roseman has the ammo to do what he pleases here. So you can see with the draft picks, oh, yeah, let's ride. Now, when it comes to cap space right now, we're looking at with Jalen Hurts, Jordan Mailata, all those people included. The only one we're waiting on is Olamide Zaccheaus. So I incorporated that into the estimated. You remember we've been going through all of this throughout camp, but with the draft picks going into effect at around 4.6 mil. Now that's it if they stay at those picks they have. So 10, 30, and 62 would be the only ones that affect the cap. So if we trade, those numbers will change. But if you're staying put, and if the numbers are how I think they will be, you're looking at around $13.5 million still after all is said and done with Hurts, Zaccheaus being signed. So the Eagles have plenty of cap space. I don't know where people get the narrative that we don't. That's perfectly fine. We'll show them that we do. So we've got the cap space. So if the Eagles want to trade for someone already on a roster rather than drafting like they did last year with A.J. Brown. Maybe they go after Budda Baker. A lot of names being talked about. Derrick Henry, I told you I don't think that happens. It's very exciting to think about. But for me, I think this Eagles team, we're going to go into this draft and maybe you add somebody a little bit younger if you do trade for anyone. But expect to keep building for the future. And that's what we've been doing. And very excited about some of the guys that will be stepping up. So one thing is, all the people that are lost, all that great stuff. A lot of people, you got to have this, got to have that. To me, I don't feel that there's this dire need at all these positions people talk about. So we're going to look at all these positions here quickly. Then we'll look at the depth chart and then I'll show you how I have these things ranked. So appreciate you tuning in. I'm going to be very excited for this draft day. I'm going to cry just because the draft is here and I can't take it anymore. So what is going on, Sean, my man? Appreciate you tuning in. The chaos is finally going to end this Thursday. We will know who the Eagles are going to select, and we'll see if they pick at 10 and 30. And obviously, this whole weekend's going to be fun. So I'm going to be keeping you guys up to date. We'll be talking after the picks. Obviously, we'll have day stuff. So it'll be, obviously pre-draft and then pre-day 2, pre-day 3, and all that stuff. So be keeping you up to date, but I appreciate you. Just want to give you all the ammo you need to know heading into this draft. So let's start it off. Appreciate you guys. If you have any questions, let me know. But let's look at this here. You've got the quarterbacks. Obviously, we locked up the highest paid player, the guy they said we had to trade. He cannot develop, never will. And now he's the highest paid player in the NFL. I feel pretty good here at quarterback. And then they bring in Marcus Mariota. Quite the upgrade over Gardner Minshew. So excited there. Veteran presence can help Ian Book along. Maybe we bring in an undrafted guy in the draft. We shall see. But I love where the quarterback room is at. Now, up next is the running back room. And, well, we've talked about this one. Obviously, a lot of people very interested in getting guys like Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs. I've talked about Zach Charbonnet, Devin A-Chain. There are lots of options. But right here, looking at this room, Kenneth Gainwell, Rashad Penny, Boston Scott, Trey Sermon, Kennedy Brooks. That's some good competition there. And I think that 1A, 1B, Penny and Gainwell will be exciting to see if Penny can stay healthy. Now, Trey Sermon, we'll see what he can do. Obviously, losing Miles Sanders hurts all of us deep inside that were fans of his. But we all saw this move coming. We weren't going to pay him. So that's where, to me, I don't think the Derrick Henry thing happens. Now, Bijan Robinson, maybe they select him. I don't think they would at 10. Maybe they trade back and take him in the first. But I don't know. We'll talk about that, obviously. Tomorrow, we're going to have our 1 point only mock draft, so tune in for that. But let's keep this train moving. You see the running backs. I feel good about it, but you could add to the room, as we talked about there. Now, at wide receiver, a lot of talk about, Quez Watkins struggles, so the Eagles bring in Olamide Zaccheaus, and that will definitely push him, but he brings depth outside, inside, so that's great. Covey, Ward, Allen, Cleveland, all here to compete. Pascal left for the Cardinals, so look, for me, Zaccheaus fills that role. If you want to add someone in the draft, I would be perfectly fine with it. But I'm not against what we have here. We have one of the best duos in the game, if not the best. So right there makes me feel pretty excited from the years prior. I mean, this is quite the upgrade. So excited about the room, but definitely could add there. Now, at tight end, Dallas Goedert, one of the best in the game. But behind him, you have Grant Calcaterra, Jack Stoll, Tyree Jackson just signed his tender. We talked about that probably going to happen because why not? It costs you absolutely nothing. And if he doesn't work out, you cut him. Bing, bang, doom. Okay, so Tyree Jackson's back. Dalton Keene down there. These guys are going to compete. But to me, you could definitely add a tight end in this draft, maybe a more blocking tight end. Jack Stoll I like, but I think somebody could block a little bit better than him. He provides, the fact that he can catch too, not just block. So you like that, but Calcaterra, more of your receiving tight end. So we'll see if he can step it up in year 2. Excited about that. So some competition there, but I could see the Eagles adding there. Now on the line, we know Lane and Jordan, Twin Towers, 2 of the best tackles in the game. But behind that, you lose Dillard, and you've got Jack Driscoll, who I've got listed a guard here, but he can provide you depth here too. But Jared Williams, Roderick Johnson, Fred Johnson are your backup to Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata. So, yeah, I could see if the Eagles want to add here. And I know a lot of people feel, hey, you don't want to, draft people on the line. But to me, it's very important. It begins in the trenches. So I wouldn't be against it, especially if somebody could play a little bit of guard too. So if you're drafting a tackle that has played guard, not against it. You've got Landon Dickerson. Then beyond that, Jack Driscoll, Sua Opeta, Tyrese Robinson, Julian Good-Jones, Josh Sills. You lose Sayamalu to the Steelers, so that's unfortunate, but how are you replacing him? To me, maybe Jack Driscoll, maybe, Cam Jurgens goes in there, but I would not be against drafting someone that could fill that void. Now, at center, we talk about Cam Jurgens being the backup center, but he could also be the starting right guard if they don't go there. But we all know the Eagles. We know Howie Roseman. He will be looking for offensive linemen. So Cameron Tom back here, he will compete. But to me, you always have to look in the trenches, whether it be offense or defense. So I'm excited about this draft. I know a lot of people feel that if they don't get the person they want in the first round, and this happens every year, that the draft has failed, everything's over because this reporter told you that they had to get this guy or they liked this guy. Every single year we did, deal with this. And last year I talked about it's probably just going to be Jordan Davis. So we get Jordan Davis and it's like, let's look at the roster. Let's look at how this team is built. And that's how you decide who they're going to pick. And it's never need. It's best player available. That's why I said, I'm not going to list it as, need based, but we'll talk about the positional strength here in a second. What day you're going to choose, you think we're going to pick. Okay, very stoked when a draft in the trenches. Whoever best falls us would like to us 10th pick and trade to the 30th if necessary. Sign that special teams competition. No doubt, my man. I'm with you. And as I just mentioned there, tomorrow is going to be the 1 point only mock draft. And then, of course, the day before the draft is when I will tell you guys who I have as my pick. So appreciate you tuning in, X Dog. Fuchsia colored poop shape. Yeah. Appreciate you, dude. Taking your time, giving it to me. That's what kind of grip the Eagles have on people, and I appreciate you tuning in. I heard Vikings want to move up for a quarterback. Do it in first year and third. Yeah, you're going to hear all kinds of crazy stuff. I like Osiris Torrance. We've talked about him. Adebaware, he's okay, but I like Milton Williams a lot more. Second round gets Chardonnay. Are you talking about Zach Charbonnet? Yeah, man. Big fan of his. We talked about him the other day. Talked about Battle the other day. Exactly. Look, I've talked about a lot of people I want. Brian Branch is clearly somebody I really like. I've talked about a lot of people. Jordan Battle, yeah, from Alabama you're talking about. But he played, nickel corner. We talked about him with the safety because I think he's going to play safety in the NFL. Is the backup O-lineman worth it in the first round? Or look what happened with Diller. I don't know, Luffy, why you would want to take a backup lineman. No, dude, I would not do that at all. But that's why the people are talking about the Eagles drafting someone that would start. So that would clearly make a lot of sense. But, you'll see here in a second how I have it listed on the depth chart. But let's keep moving and let's take a look at the defense by position here. We'll start off with the interior guys. And clearly Hargrave leaving for the Niners. That blows. He was phenomenal. Sue and Joseph, as I've mentioned, don't think they'll be back. Maybe midway through the season, something happens. You need them. But you've got Jordan Davis, Milton Williams. Time to step it up. Let's go, baby. Excited about them. Fletcher Cox brought back. Marlon Tuipulotu coming back from injury. Contavious Street brought in. Marvin Wilson and Noah Ellis. The young guys. Ellis missed all of his rookie season, so he'll get a chance to compete as a nose tackle. But the Eagles could definitely be looking to improve there. But look, I'm very excited for these young guys, so I would be perfectly fine here as well. And that's why I said at the beginning of the video, if we started this season, I would like this roster. So I don't feel that there's some dire need. And it makes me feel good because going into this, you truly can take the best player available. And well, the Eagles don't care what we say. They're going to take who they want anyway. So it is what it is. But you see the edge rushers here. A lot of edge rushers I like in this draft. But, you see here, those strong side, outside linebackers we talk about. Hassan Reddick, Patrick Johnson, Kyron Johnson, those edge rushers that drop into coverage. I like those guys. I do. I really like the depth there behind Hassan Reddick, but we've talked about some guys that would fit perfectly in Nolan Smith, could learn from Reddick, could play opposite of him in certain packages. A lot you could do with him. And then if Reddick were to leave in 2 years or whatever happens, you have a young man there. But you see Josh Sweat, Graham, Barnett, Jackson, Robinson, Leo, all there to compete. And Robert Quinn, still a free agent. So I like the competition we have here. I like the rotation, the three-man rotation. If you just look at that on each, I have them listed at the end and the same linebackers. But I think for me, I would like that. But you know me, man. You want to add to the rotation on the defensive or offensive line. Let's go all about it. Now, linebackers. This is one where you lose TJ Edwards, you lose Kaiser White, both of your starters, but you drafted Nakobe Dean the year before because you knew one of these people was probably going to be gone, if not both, and they are. So Dean, he's here. Morrow, he was brought in. Bradley, Ellis, and Taylor will get a chance to compete, but that looks like a position we could look to improve upon. But we all know the Eagles don't really like to put too much emphasis into linebacker. I like Nicholas Morrow. I hope he stays healthy. Maybe they like Sean Bradley's progression before he got hurt there. Christian Ellis was able to make the active roster, helped on special teams. Maybe he brings something on defense. Davian Taylor, maybe he comes alive here. But, it's risky business, and I wouldn't be against if the Eagles wanted to maybe add a Simpson. We talked about Campbell, a lot of guys that I think clearly maybe would be too high for them, but hey, you never know. Now at cornerback, the best trio in the game, Slay, Bradbury, and Maddox. Then you add Greedy Williams. You got McPherson, Job, Scott, and Goodrich here. So I love this cornerback room, but as I mentioned when we talked about the corners, I wouldn't necessarily be against adding a corner to this room, because for me, these guys aren't going to be around forever, and it's a very, very important position. So a lot of top guys here, but bringing back Bradbury and then, restructuring, extending Slay, I think that was a must happen. And then we thought he was going to leave. So that was a little worrisome, but he's back. We're good to go. Love that. But the question in the secondary is not the corners. It is the safeties. But having a great edge rush and having good corners actually makes it a lot easier on those safeties. So Epps and Gardner Johnson, another position where both the starters leave. And, you've got Reed Blankenship, Kayvon, Andre Sacheret, and McCollum here coming back from last year. McCollum came on at the end there, but they bring in Justin Evans and, of course, Terrell Edmonds in free agency. So you've got some competition there now. And I like Terrell Edmonds. I like Justin Evans being brought in, special teams help, veteran presence. And, to me, look, with the defense we're going to run, I think, safeties are very, very important. And Reed Blankenship, I'm very excited for his future. Andre Sacheret brings, a lot of depth at nickel safety. He can provide special teams help. But I think this is a position where maybe you go with a young man that can grow in this system. And we've talked about some of those Alabama kids, because I think we're going to incorporate a lot of Nick Saban's, quarters defense. So some of those guys that have already ran that, have experience as a hybrid defensive back playing, nickel corner. And, we've talked about someone like Brian Branch, who can play nickel corner, outside corner, free safety, box safety. You can move him all around. The dude is a weapon. So I wouldn't be against something like that. And don't think that I left out the special teams. Let's toss them in there here real quick, too. So punter, Aaron Sipos. We were very questionable about him. He looked great last year. Then he gets hurt. Comes back in the Super Bowl, shanks a punt, lets the guy take it back to the one. Punch me in the face. So maybe you bring in some effing competition there, whether it's an undrafted kid. I'm not drafting a punter. You bring in somebody, or maybe a free agent. We shall see. But, Rick Lovato, one of the better long snappers. Jake Elliott, one of the better kickers. So happy there. Return game. We talked about this extensively throughout, the draft stuff when we were talking running backs, receivers, corner, safeties, and then the special team show. All of them very important. I would improve that room. Give me a return man at kick returner. I like Britton Covey's upside, but you got to block for him. So let's improve the room as a whole. And, Covey can't kick return. Well, he hasn't. So I would look to improve there. But Brett Kern, you see, he will probably stay a free agent because, well, he looked like complete garbage when he was given an opportunity to step in for us. So best of luck to you, Brett. But, yeah, not seeing him getting signed anytime soon. But we're going to take a look at this depth chart. We're going to look at all that now that you just saw, and I'm going to show you it in a depth chart. So you're going to be able to tell me where you think the Eagles need to go in the draft. Wish we didn't trade our fourth Roquan, considering how we didn't really get to play. But I wish we would have gotten Roquan Smith. That would have been fantastic. But fortunately, it was Robert Quinn instead. But, look, it is what it is. Robert sucked. It is. Yeah, I knew what he was saying, though. Wish we didn't trade our fourth Robert. Yeah, I got what you were saying, my man. But, hey, you take a shot sometimes. We made it to the Super Bowl. They were on it, though. They had the field crew. They had everybody in on that Super Bowl. They ensured that they kept that field super wet so that this record-breaking sack defense wasn't able to have their strength. So it was a smart play by the Chiefs and the refs together to come together and ensure that we couldn't do that. So, You guys know the head of the field crew was a Chiefs fan, his final game. So we all know what happened there. And it was smart for them to wet the field like that. And, Mahomes would have been dead. We saw what we did to quarterbacks when, we didn't have a grounds crew helping the other team. So for me, Robert Quinn would have had an impact. All those guys would have had an impact, but weren't allowed to. So is what it is. Next year, we just got to be on top of that stuff with the right cleats, making sure, however the NFL is trying to cheat us, that we stay on top of it. But my man Drew in the building, what is going on, brother? Appreciate you tuning in. Hope all is well. We're going through this damn roster. I knew who you meant. We're going through the cap space, the draft picks, and now we're about to look at the depth chart. Just talked about each position. You've caught most of those because you were part of you saw those images, most of them. Some of them changed, but you saw them when we talked about those positions during the draft. If you guys missed any of that, go back. There is a position by position look at every position in the draft, what the Eagles have there, all that great stuff, and the top fits. So let's look at all those guys. I just showed you each position. Now let's look at the depth chart. So I changed this a little bit. You see that I have Penny behind Gainwell now. I'm not just going to give it to him. He's got to stay healthy, but I think he is going to be able to be a beast in this offense, and I think behind this offensive line. Now the question is, who is right guard? I had Jack Driscoll in there, but I'm going to put him as a backup tackle just so you can see at least there is kind of somebody there as a backup. But who's starting? It's going to be Cam Jurgens, Sue Opeta, Jack Driscoll. Who wants it? Go ahead and get it. Now, Cam Jurgens is going to definitely have to beef up a little bit, but love the kid. So hopeful that somebody gets it done or we find that person in the draft. Now, on defense, you see that, look, again, I like where we're at. I like the pieces we added. Anybody in green, by the way, if you haven't noticed, is new to the roster. So check them out. You can see we added some pieces, some guys that will have the possibility of starting here. So, look, I do like this roster. I don't feel, a lot of people, it's all over for the Eagles. So, they're going to be terrible. I think we're going right back to the Super Bowl. So, to me, I love what I see here, and you just add to it, ensure that we stay this way for the future. Now, the special teams you just saw there, you've got Covey, you've got Scott, but you've got some guys that, can help back there. Smith, Cleveland, Gainwell, Ward. I guess I didn't change that. I did have Olamide Zacchaeus in there for Watkins, but I guess I loaded the wrong one. But, hey, it is what it is. You've got some guys that can compete there. That is the name of the game. But you've now seen all the positions, shown you the depth charts. You guys can tell me where do you have, I'm going to show you the positional strength rankings, but I want you to tell me what you think is the weakest link here. Where would you add? What do the Eagles need in this draft? And as I've said, to me, it's not really about need. It's about, getting that best player. But there are some positions I wouldn't mind seeing players added to. So let's take a look at this positional strength ranking we got here. So you see at the top, I've got quarterback as well. We just locked up the MVP candidate. Look, highest paid player in NFL history. Love it. So I feel good there. Added a great backup. Fits the system. Good there. Corners got the best trio in the game. Feel very damn comfortable. Wide receivers feel pretty damn good there too. I know a lot of people despise Quez Watkins. I'm a fan of his. Hopefully he turns things up. If not, going to lose his spot to Olamide. We'll see if we draft somebody here. Tight ends. Told you how I felt there. Tight end 2, a little questionable to me. I like Calcaterra, Stoll, but could use an upgrade there. Edge rushers, I feel pretty damn confident, that this room is stacked. But at the same time, is Derek Barnett going to stay healthy? BG, still continues to rip it up. But is that going to happen again this year? Josh Sweat, love him. Reddick, love him. But beyond that, what is the depth there going to be able to do? So, got him in the mid there, a little bit midway, because you could add there. Wouldn't be against that at all. Interior D-line feel the same way. I'm ready for Jordan Davis and Milton Williams to step it up as well as Marlon Tuipulotu. But you bring back Fletch. You brought in Street. So you've got some depth there. I feel pretty good, but wouldn't be against adding, one of those versatile defensive linemen we talked about. So got them middle of the pack there. Then you see running backs. Now, I feel pretty good about running backs, but you could definitely add a young man that wants to be, the future with Kenneth Gainwell. I'd love to sit here and, hope that Rashad Penny's going to stay healthy, but that means absolutely nothing. He actually has to do it. So, hey, maybe it's Trey Sermon. But I really do like the running back room, but I could see them going to add there. Now, on special teams, I talked about it, a return man. This kind of goes in stride with the running backs, receivers. I don't think we necessarily need one of them, but if they bring something to the table where they are providing that, return specialist, oh, yeah, hook it up. We've talked about plenty of them, Kendre Miller, A-Chain. I mean, guys like Gibbs could do it too. So you add somebody like that that's going to be explosive in the return game. Think about it. They had to sit there and be like, where were we not really explosive? And it's the return game. So, I mean, if you're scary on every side of the ball, man, I mean, it's hard to lose games that way. So, I mean, why not add something to that list? So I got special teams there. Now, O-line in the top three maybe sounds a little crazy, but to me, not having a right guard is really crazy. And not having a tackle for the future is really crazy because Lane Johnson's only got a couple years left per him. So this is very important. If somebody gets hurt, something happens, we've seen injuries happen on the line, you got to have somebody available. I love Jack Driscoll, but how much does, he have the ability to get it done? And, I think for me, this offensive line is still one of the best, whoever gets plugged in there, but there are some studs we have talked about. Osiris Torrance, I mentioned, and, just was brought up here. I think, you get someone like him at 30, that is something to me, you plug and play, baby. But the Eagles don't feel that way. They're not, oh, we have to get this guy. If somebody's the best player, they're going to take them. And if they can start there, then let's go. If they're the future at tackle and can only play tackle, well, then they'll compete with Cam Jerkins trying to learn guard. So we'll see. But definitely a position I could see that we could add some pieces because we're always looking ahead, right? It's not just talking about this year. So at least that's what I try to do and how I'm able to stay ahead of the curve because, I always try to look into the future here. Now, linebackers, second to last here. I think, for me, Nakobe Dean is going to come in and he's going to do some special things. I think I meant to have linebackers at number one, but it is what it is. I think Nakobe Dean being here, that makes me feel pretty good. You're going to play a lot of sets where you just have two linebackers. So, Nicholas Morrow will be able to come in and get the job done if he stays healthy, hopefully. But if you add someone, hell yeah, maybe Bradley or Taylor or Ellis, as we had mentioned, comes in. But they want to add someone, I would be more than okay with it to pair with Dean and have Morrow as depth. But if it's Morrow and Dean, okay. Now, safety, I love Reed Blankenship's promise. I love what Terrell Edmonds brings. But, dude, beyond that, again, you're looking at some questionable stuff there. Kayvon Wallace came on at the end of the year. He looked all right. But, beyond that, bringing in Justin Evans is great. Tristan McCollum, the undrafted kid from last year. I think, obviously, that to me would be one of the positions where it's like, okay, that's probably the one where if you add there, I'm going to feel pretty good about it. So if you had someone like a Brian Branch, just saying, I would be pretty ecstatic. But ladies and gentlemen, that's all I've got for you this evening. Now you've seen the whole roster, all the draft picks, all of the cap space, everything you need to know heading into this draft. But as I said earlier, tomorrow will be the 1 point only mock draft. You will see my mock draft. I'll do one with trades, one without trades. You can see all that great stuff. We'll decide how we like it, this, that, the other thing. And then, of course, on Wednesday, it will be the My Guys pick. So it'll be 10 of my guys. And then, of course, the number one will be my guy that I feel that the Eagles will be taking at 10. And look, maybe I'll do a little something for pick 30 as well. We shall see. But here's what it is. I appreciate each and every one of you, though, tuning in hot and ready. I'm ready. Let's go. Appreciate you taking the time, though. If you guys have any questions or any comments on this, please feel free to leave it down below. If you're watching this later, love to hear your thoughts on it. But I hope to catch you tomorrow going over those mock drafts. Want to hear who you guys really want. And if you want to tell me right now, I'd love to hear it. Who do you guys like at 10, 30, 62, 94, whatever it may be? Let me hear it. Let's go. 217, 249. Aren't those the other ones? You can tell me those too. But I appreciate each and every one of you. Hope you're having a great start to your week. If it hasn't been great, make it great. It's draft week. Let's go. Draft week. We've been waiting. We've had to see 9,422 mock drafts from everyone and their mother. Then we're going to have to hear when we draft. I told you. It's like, yes, if you make 642 mock drafts, you're probably bound to get one person that the Eagles take. Just throwing that out there. But I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope to see you tomorrow. Anything crazy happens, I'll be back then. But until next time, I am Jimmy Smith, and this is On the Road to Victory. Have yourselves a great rest of your night. Stay safe out there. And as always, say it with me, chat. Go Birds!